fuck's he going checking? What the fuck is he checking? Fuck!
Why is it so dark over here? Can you change the exposure on the camera?
Keep it on film or auto?
No. Film. Oh, you fucked it.
It's right there.
I'll do the exposure there. Okay, so you go back and talk to the lads.
Where's the...
How's it looking in?
You were the lead for...
Yeah, it's plugged into the Zoom.
What's this one? Oh, there we go. How dare you?
There we go. Ryan O'Connell's online, and Cole Simpson, and Erico Oliveira. Nice cinematic lighting. We're trying to sort the lighting out.
Do you know what? 3 USB ports, USB port, HDMI port. Some port, I don't even know what that is, port. You just can't go wrong with Windows laptops. Like, they don't screw you over for ports. Unless you got like a little notebook. But, when did the last live stream? Last live stream I was like, you need to get a haircut.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten a haircut.
No.
You've got the hair beside your eyebrows and your temple.
These ones here?
Yeah, your hairy done.
That's how I know I really need a haircut. It's when my eyebrows start joining my head.
I know my head looks 4 times bigger because my beard and hair's gotten so big. Aren't you blessed to have it though? Blessed to have it. That male part baldness gets over half of all men. Over half.
Yeah.
So you're more likely to have NPD, more plates, more dates, more baldness than not have it.
Vasily says Dara's showing some guns. Actually, it must be the lighting or something.
It's mad. Our heads are the same size,
but our bodies are vastly different than in length.
It's so weird that we're the same size standing up.
No, sitting down.
Just sitting down.
T-shirts will be the end of this month. The last of our orders en route at the moment from the supplier. So once that is there, that makes up around 25% of the total order. Once that's there, everything is going to go live. We're going to let people know a small bit early who are members. So they'll just get noticed maybe 24 or 48 hours early, and it'll be good.
We'll definitely just do an impromptu live stream. We'll just call it the merch live stream, so people can know.
Yeah. And
we can watch people buy your stuff.
Ding ding ding. The Russian looking ones are already here. We already have those. The 2 different colors. You've probably seen them by now, but
some great ideas for future graphics.
Yeah.
Can't wait to do more of those. I got to hand it to Alex. He's very talented. Graphically,
Alex is phenomenally talented.
Incredibly talented.
For those of you who don't know, Alex is our editor, but he also designed like the t-shirts and stuff. And he basically edits for us. He edits for Weightlifting House. He edits for Zach. He does some editing for Clarence every so often. So he's just a very, very talented guy.
Rolling in cash. But we literally sent him like a scribble, a very rough outline of what we wanted for the t-shirts. We got those. We're going to have to do University Seeker stand ones. I said it accidentally the last day.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to those. Probably soon. Sorry.
Nicholas is asking when for the pants. It will be once the last consignment comes in, they'll be going up. I assume it'll be 2 or 3 weeks. It was around 2 or 3 weeks last time we ordered from that supplier. So
I'm really happy with the pants.
They're en route.
I'm super happy.
Yeah. I'm happy we did the work we did on the pants. I'm just going to change the exposure a small bit. I'm very happy we did the work we did on the pants. Or you did the work you did. How's that looking in?
It looks fine. Oh, it's a bit darker now.
Yeah.
No, it's too dark. But if it goes terribly, it's good. But if it goes
it's perfect.
But it's more triggering asking if you are maxing or questions about knees over toes, guys. Questions about other coaches. No, actually, in real life, people asking me about maxing is very triggering.
That's only because it's annoying on the day, it's in real life. Whereas nobody asks you. Nobody in real life are like, most of the time in real life, nobody's like, what do you think of Glenn Pendley? Whereas here, people are like, what do you think of this entire coach's body of work?
I understand why people ask them, but then people just need to stop and think for a second. My views on.
Jeez, that's so bright.
You've really changed the exposure now. Change it back in. They can't even see us anymore.
It's so fucking bright.
It was only wrong a second ago.
We need curtains.
You could just get a blind and put it in. I can use my new impact driver drill.
We need
It's a great drill.
I know, yeah, but we're not going to use that one.
Why am I talking about that one?
You just use the actual drill.
It's begging to be used, like. It's gagging to be used. No, that's not the right place. No, that's terrible.
No, stop it now.
But I can't see now.
I know, but we need to both be at the same level.
No, I don't need to be
You
blind.
sit in a normal place there.
I'm sitting in a normal place.
Okay.
No, you'll have to put that back.
Is there more questions in the thing?
I'm
I'm
not
not putting it back, so just you're in the shade and I'm getting nailed by it, and then the exposure is wrong for
Now
both.
we're both getting nailed by it. There's no point in us both being blind.
Yes, there is, because then the exposure setting on the camera is the same.
But it's uncomfortable for me. Why?
Oh yeah, but it doesn't. Discomfort is just simply a
that's just-
symptom of your
That's
surroundings.
just communism right now. More everyone suffers instead of some
We
people.
need to get through the questions.
Instead of some people suffering. But you know when people like ask about other coaches.
Do we have to answer the questions today, or can we just chat away?
No. I'm after forgetting what I was talking about now. Stop. A second now. What was I saying about other coaches? Fuck. What was I saying?
I have a comment on this.
Go on, comment what I think about
People
it.
always ask us about other programs. They're like, what do you think of the Texas method or something like that?
Mhm.
Nobody goes into a Toyota dealership and is like, what do you think of the new Ford Focus? Or nobody goes into whatever, like a Adidas shop and asks them, what do you think of the new Nike running shoes? If we thought other coaches' programs were the best programs they could possibly be, we wouldn't have written our own ones because it would already exist.
I kind of was going to say, fuck, I forgot again. Jesus, I literally forgot there. So, do you know when my view on when people like make meme pages and they're like taking down people and like exposés on people, making videos, talking about the information and saying their information is wrong, right? My view on that is if you know better, if you think you have the correct information, go and put it out there and see what people think. Let the people decide. Don't mind talking smack about someone and saying they make stupid shit and make your memes and all this crap. Go make. There's plenty of platforms for you to put out your information there. Say what you think is the best way on this particular subject instead of it's kind of a loser way, to be honest, for me, to go. It shows you lack confidence in your own methods or you don't really understand, but it sounds good to attack other people. Is what I think about that.
That's so true in the case of Squire University when you're saying he's taking all the flack.
Yeah.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
The volume of stuff that Aaron does and with the same level of of know-how,
Yeah.
And certainly not on the platforms like I know Kelly and stuff were really big back in the day, but certainly not on the range of platforms that Aaron is now. Yet he gets all the crap still, like
because people have like jumped on the bandwagon of that now. Like, provide a better answer if that's the issue.
Yeah. Okay. Jody G says, what's going on, lads? Wanted to ask if you guys ever make some of your athletes do plyo push-ups, and if yes, how and how you program them. Also, do you think they'll ever have a positive carryover to punching? So the first thing is, I've plyo push-ups in for a few of my athletes at the moment. Plyo push-ups are a grand tool at certain points. They're definitely an imperfect tool in many ways when you look at can't really incrementally load them. You can't really force somebody to use them or allow somebody to use them who doesn't already have a high level of skill and power output. So certainly they're closed off for a vast population of the athletes we'd see on a regular basis. But if you're like an in-season field sports athlete and you fending is part of your sport, so if you're whatever it is, basketball, hockey, rugby, American football, all of those, the plyo push-up or really explosive push-up is really, really valuable. Most of the time, the people who are getting closed off to doing them just don't have the skill to do them. They're not strong enough to do them, or they haven't built up enough volume or built up enough capacity to kind of earn the right to do them. And then the other issue, or the last issue with plyo push-ups is once you get good at doing plyo push-ups and you kind of reach and use that butter zone of training, which for most of them is like 8 sets of 5 or 6 sets of 4, in that kind of range, once they get to being able to do that after a certain amount of time, they just lose their sharpness. So because they can't incrementally load them, because they can't get heavier, they can't really get much faster. We then have to look for a different mousetrap, and that's why I like using a kind of explosive bench press a small bit more, or just getting them to be much stronger at their bench press and then loading back into power like 60 to 80% for power work rather than going to an explosive push-up. In terms of carryover to punching, I don't. If someone's crap at punching, clap push-ups won't make them better at punching, in my opinion.
Alex Arquila says, "Hey gents, just wanted to let you know I did 126, 158, and 81.
Nice.
Very nice this pay. I couldn't have got those numbers while you're honest. Thanks so much, Alex. That means a lot.
Yeah, well done. They're great numbers."
Montel says, "How many days per week is your off-season strength athlete program? Also, I plan to run the off-season program for the remainder of my weight loss phase, then run the RTOA. Is that a good idea?" So it's 4 days a week, and it's a good idea to run the off-season and the RTA. Definitely. I would recommend not running the RTA until you finish your caloric deficit. Either a minimum maintenance phase or maybe a little extra. It'll help a lot, but that definitely seems like a reasonable plan. That seems like a good idea. The off-season is a good one to run if you're trying to lose weight. So our big thing when people are losing weight is to forget about your strength. Don't forget about it. Your strength will come back.
Forget about it.
Your main concern is maintaining as much muscle mass as you possibly can, because your muscle mass is the thing that facilitates most of your strength. Or in some ways, it's the thing that most at jeopardy when you're losing weight is how much muscle mass you have and how much you could lose, because there's huge differences. Like you see those studies where people get less sleep and the calorically equivalated and they both lose weight, but some people lose way more fat mass than muscle mass, or vice versa if you get less sleep. So main thing in the off season, or to maintain your losing weight, is maintaining muscle mass. And the off season is a lot of high rep stuff, so that's a great one. And then the RTA obviously is just a great program all around.
Hot Sauce says 23andMe said, "I have a large chunk of Irish in me." You'd want to get that removed, I'd say, if you could at all. Does that explain my affinity for whiskey?
Depends what kind of whiskey. It really depends.
Yeah, but there is a strange genetic component to your ability to handle alcohol.
Yes.
So you'll see like certain nations or certain races of people are very, very poor at handling alcohol. And then
as you go east, so
yeah,
a lot of Asian
countries,
Maoris
yeah,
have it as well, apparently. They have a lot of issues with that.
So
yeah, it's interesting. I certainly don't have that. I don't think you do either.
I think I'd be dead by now if I did.
High tolerance.
Yeah, because good high tolerance. The other thing with tolerance for alcohol is that it's very much a skill, and like you lose the skill when you don't use it for a while. Like you might, if there's a big wedding or something coming up, you'd want to have a few pints the week before.
I think I have a pretty innate skill. I'd say I haven't drank that much in a while now, but I'd still get probably like
but you get
10 pints before I'd be like, the first two would hit me hard,
Yeah.
But then I'd just be level for the next multiple.
Yeah.
Evan Leasing, any information on the seminar planned for early 2022? By the way, that gear looks nice. Is everyone yours?
Yeah, Evan is the super total guy.
Oh yes, Evan, great lifting, by the way. We creeped each other's athletes.
Great BBs this week.
Yeah, great. Just stick with the weightlifting. Forget about the super total level. You've a lot bigger lifts than you. We creep each other's athletes when we're someone's good or bad. The seminar, we will be in America, hopefully.
Around March or April.
Potentially. Depends how life goes and what's happening. So we have a camp planned in London, in Epsom. It'll be minimal places, not too many. It'll be us and Gabriel Sinclair. It's going to be 4 days, and it will be... We have the dates.
We have the dates.
Oh, we haven't released the dates yet. So we have... The dates will be 4 days. What we're going to do is we're going to give people a program 4 to 5 weeks leading up to the camp. So when people sign up to the camp with us, we will have a program. We'll talk to you, and we'll have a program set up for people who are going to do the camp. So when you get to the camp, you're going to be ready for it. You're going to be in good condition. And then us and Gabriel will give you the best and most information you can get on weightlifting in 4 days. We'll do a lot of sessions. It's a phenomenal gym in Epsom in London. London's great because it's easy for most countries to get to. Great equipment. It's a great place. So we're looking forward to it.
Those dates are going to be, at the moment, it looks like 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th of February.
Yeah.
So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's the plan.
Seminars are on a as requested basis. So when people just contact us, they're like, "Well, you can do a seminar," and we're like, "For show." So we rarely reach out to people to do seminars, obviously, because that'd be like hookers contacting people and saying, "Do you want?"
Yeah, it would be strange, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So
how about we come to your gym? We'll do a seminar.
Yeah. So we just let people reach out to us. So now, obviously, we won't be working in America when we go there.
No. We'll be there on holidays.
We're going to be on holidays.
On
America.
explicitly holiday visas.
Yes. Yes.
But we will hopefully April, May next year.
Vasil Zylev says, so what's the story behind Seek a Strength? How and why did you get started? I'm curious. Basically, did we do this the first ever podcast? The way we did we do that? I think if you go back and listen to the early podcasts, you'll be able to figure out where it really comes from. A longer story, but long story short, the name Seek a Strength comes from is we trying to figure a name for months, and we're talking like 4, 5, 6 months at this stage. We were trying to figure out what we're going to call it. We loaded like Latin names, trying to figure out things. With some other names almost decided on, with some logos made. Yeah. And then we figured out one of those is actually gone. And I'm so glad we didn't do that now. It's terribly glad we didn't do that one.
Yeah.
And then one day we were out hunting, and I was like, what? Can I sound like what breed is there? And he's like, Seek a Strength. Sika. And we were just kind of like, Sika.
That works.
I don't know who said it first.
It's a short word.
I think it might have been you who said Seek a Strength. And we were just like, that's it. That's what we're going to call it. It was just ran with it. Why did we get started? So Dara just sold out of his business in the gym. Successfully sold out, I might add, just to make that clear. Just in defense of you.
That gym is still booming.
Gym is booming. So Dara successfully exited the coaches of gym, which is you're in the 1 percentile in terms of gym coaches. And we were, I have an inability to do nothing with my spare time. And so has Dara, and we had some access funds, huge interest in all of this stuff. And we were originally we had some extra funds, and I remember we were at Dara's house and we were like, do you want to do something? And he was like, we should definitely do something. So we started we were going to sell supplements, and we were going to do ketones. And then we had actual ketones sent to us, flavored ketones that we'd come up with ourselves from China. A funny thing about those is they had to be put under a different name, so we had to get them tested before we took them. We did it. We tried them anyway. And there's a video of that somewhere. It's hilarious. It tastes terrible. And then we tried to contact the Irish Food Administration Service, and we were like, "Can we sell these legally in Ireland?" And they were basically like, "What the fuck are ketones?" And we were like, "This is what."
That's what happened. Like, basically, if at the point of writing the document in 1992 or something, the product hadn't existed, then you couldn't sell it as a food product.
It had to have a huge amount of scientific and like practical use before you could really sell things.
Yeah, and it had to have had all of that built up by 1992. So like, it just wasn't possible.
So Dara rang them or whatever, and they were like, I don't know if you'll be able to sell those. Like, you could be liable for stuff. So we were like, right, let's not sell those. We also use ZMA a lot, and we were like, this works really well. So we were looking into ZMA. And we were kind of like, so we were both doing coaching on the side. You'd obviously finished a lot of coaching, but you still worked in the gym as just did a bit of coaching still. I was coaching like CrossFitters to do weightlifting part-time, still working obviously. And then we were like, fuck it, like we should definitely do weightlifting. Actually we were very adamant about not just doing weightlifting, but let's start something. And then here we are, over 4 years later.
Yeah, 4 years.
Yeah, so that's the story.
Genealogy of it. Dave Tate main tips is to box squat, and people like Weightlifers does aid to ask the grass, but what if you ask the grass on a box? Boom, science. No.
Box squats
really aren't it for me, and there's a number of
I could see touch and go box squats being nice for a weightlifter to have, but I've never given them to any of my weightlifters. I might try that for a messing, but never as a main exercise. Box squats are useless for all main exercises.
I think there's definitely the application for like very, 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 very strong athletes who are in a power phase.
Yes. Just
sitting down and tapping a box. They're doing like quarter squats, like well above parallel.
Yes.
That's the application I see, but no. I think that was kind of a joke. Someone says, this is We Fit Gainer. Oh, yes, I'm in the shade now. We Fit Gainer says, are you boys high at the moment? No. I'm not a fan of the Devil's Lettuce.
Devil's Lettuce, yeah, we did not say that on the live stream. No, I've never enjoyed it. I hate the smell of it. The smell is rank.
Yeah, it's just not.
The smell is sickly cloying. It's just not.
20 pints of Murphy's, or else a 70 cl of whiskey now is. That's a great day.
Hefty Must says, I think I've heard you talk about this before, but can't remember the verdict. Thoughts on sumo deadlifts or weightlifters?
Never. Do you know what? Yeah. 2 months of the year, 2 months of the year, weightlifters to do one session where they do sumo deadlifts, I think will be no bother at all.
Yeah,
It wouldn't be too beneficial, wouldn't be bad for them. They do it in their 2 month off season, great.
I actually
You gain some capacity.
I have a bad experience with sumo deadlifts. Because remember when I had the glute med thing?
Yeah.
I was getting really like numbing pain down my legs. My dad, Squat University, helped me fix that. Just throwing it out there for like, of all the things he's helped me fix. So remember we went to Romania and we did the sumo deadlifts?
Yeah.
So I did sumo deadlifts for, I'm not joking, I did 2 sessions in 7 days. And I did 240 the first time. And this is how you know they're cheating. The week after I did 270 for a set of 5.
Yeah.
That's how you know they're cheating. I did them barefoot and
I don't,
really,
and
really, really hurt my leg.
You know the other thing?
Yes.
People want to do sumo deadlift because they think they want to do knees out of the way in the pull.
Mm-hmm.
They want to push their knees out to the side and they'll hold that knees out to the side in that narrow feet position. That's a crap position for most people, going knees out to the side and not pushing your knees back out of the way.
Do you know?
You just need to get good at pushing your knees back out of the way and have a strong posterior chain.
It could be a little good kind of hip opener for some weightlifters because you don't spend a lot of time going extremely external with weightlifting. So it might be a nice little like adduction training for weightlifters. But like, is it going to be a game changer? Not in
no, not
a teeny tiny little bit.
It'd be like changing the lace color in your shoes.
You'll probably get injured if anything.
Chris is a great question, right? Hey guys, any tips for going to competition without a coach or going solo? I've competed before, but it's been a while.
You need a handler. You
have to have one.
Can you ask someone? Usually, if you ask the federation, they'll help you.
Yeah, I think if there's no other option, you need to do 2 or 3 things before you ever get there, right? So the first thing you need to do is understand that you on the day will not be able to make in any way intelligent decision about anything that's happening. So you literally need everything to be written out on a sheet of paper, all the way through from the amount of sets you'll do with an empty bar to the amount of time you're going to spend with an empty bar. I would literally have it out like 35 minutes before the first lift, 45 minutes before the first lift, 50 minutes before the first lift, and have everything written out. So just a fully written out plan and follow that no matter what. If there's bombs going off around you, make sure you follow those jumps. And then like the more skill you have, the more doable it is, where you can kind of figure out, okay, this guy's opening at 100 kilos, this guy's opening at 102, but he's probably going to go to 105, and you'll be able to kind of count the attempts you had before. You'll be able to figure out, okay, if somebody's opening at 80 kilos, they'll have all 3 snatches done by the time we even go to open. You can get all of that worked out and figure out, and you can figure out, okay, I'm going to have 40 minutes or 40 minutes between the first lift and me opening, or whatever that is. But yeah, it's difficult. Like, having a really well written out plan does work, but it's very, very hard.
Yeah. Just make sure you have your timing down, like Fitz said, and just make sure you know exactly what you need to be doing in all your lifts, and then understand. Like, if you've competed before, you have an idea of how competitions run. And even if you have your list written out, you might be able to find some on the day, and you'll be like, look, this is my plan. You just help me in count lifts to make sure you know where I am with the thing. I really encourage you, because I have some athletes like this, just ask the federation, and you'll almost certainly find someone who will help you in weightlifting. It will always happen. And if you're a good weightlifter, Chris, someone might try poach you, so it's well worth your interest just asking these people. Erico says, very boring question, but at what point does simply walking begin to interfere with recovery? I've been trying to clock in 10 to 15,000 steps a day just for general health. For sure, anything north of 10,000 steps is going to be interfering with your training. Like 15,000 steps is something like 4 or 5K, and that is like, if you walk that in one go, that's about an hour and a half of walking, and that is certainly interfering with recovery for sure. Interesting little point on the 10K is, so they've done like equivalent, Australia did it, as often is with general health stuff. They did a study comparing a 10K in one go or just frequent walks post meals, and they saw better hormonal markers after frequent walking, but less walking over the course of the day. So they did walking after meals as opposed to the bigger block rates hitting a certain number. So time meals at certain points, at certain key points during the day, and they saw better health benefits in terms of markers. So, Erica, that might be something more interesting to look at and more applicable if it's just for general health. Now, if you really enjoy walking, as some people do, I like a walk now and then. But in terms of training, like 15K is for sure. I'm almost for sure too much. I would say within that 10K for sure. That's like 3.5 kilometers probably. So that's more or less okay, I would say. But anything beyond that, you're actively trying to get. The only people I know who do like 15K or more is my father. He's done like 30K some days, but he's like, he does a very active job and then doesn't stop moving. So I would just be careful with it. 15,000 or more would certainly say to me that you're interfering with your recovery for sure. Like ideally in the scenario, I keep going fast.
Sorry, no, you keep going.
An ideal scenario for an athlete, this is what you do after training. You'd lie here like this, and someone comes along.
Shade over your eyes.
Someone comes along and mouth feeds you, and you don't even chew the food. They'll come along, and they will actually do a bit of chewing to stimulate your gastric juices, but they'll hand feed you the food, and you just lie here in stasis until your next training session. That would be the ideal scenario for recovery in between sessions. So put that in perspective.
Yeah, I think as well, you just need to look at things that actually make you tired. And like for a lot of people, so I think we commonly go through is athletes changing jobs or athletes going in and out of university or whatever, and their level of their level of general activity, so non-sports related activity, goes up or goes down, and you just see how much more tired you get because of walking, because of the activity you're doing in work or whatever. Anytime there's a change like that, you need to note it. So like an extra 5,000 steps could be a lot in terms of like how tired you're going to feel every morning or how tired you're going to feel before training or after training or whatever. So I'd be conscious of it. I still like athletes to be at 10,000 because I think the vast majority of people on this Zoom or on this live stream are going to err on the side of not being too cardiovascularly healthy. But they are, like, it's not just a thing of sports in terms of weightlifting and powerlifting. It's a thing in terms of life overall, in terms of general population of the world right now. I would like everyone to hit 10,000 steps a day and 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week, because I think it will, obviously in terms of business for us, it's better if all of you guys and girls are alive in 40 years time and are healthy and fighting fit. So that would be my general. Are you getting him for the clean deadlift versus? Yeah, I knew it.
Scott D says, I'm a professional firefighter. Each year we have a fitness test, which I like to max out. Cardio test is either 1 mile or a 2K row. I love rowing. However,
his question keeps getting broken up, but he said it's in the comment section of the live stream.
I've also returned my first love of powerlifting. I want to know balance these two sports and their mutual benefit. Either running down more or less. My concern is how to.
I can't see the rest of the question.
It must be in the. If you go back to the community part of the. While you're looking for that, I'll just do the conventional deadlift one. So, what's the difference between a clean deadlift and a conventional deadlift? So a clean deadlift is when we, as the barbell moves up in the clean deadlift, your knees actively straighten. We actively want our knees to get out of the way in the clean deadlift. This is the easiest way to imagine this. Our back angle changes and our shoulders will move forward in the clean deadlift slightly. So we'll see a forward movement of the shoulders and a backwards movement of our knees. In a conventional deadlift, we want to see knees forward for as long as possible and our shoulder angle staying as straight as as consistent as we can until the barbell is locked out. So we want to see knees forward up until the barbell is almost at our knees. Whereas clean deadlifts down here, we'll see our knees moving backwards. So knee and shoulder angle are the biggest differences.
Scott D's question. So, right, I'm a professional firefighter. Each year we have a fitness test, which I like to max out. The cardio test is a 1.5 mile run or 2,000 meter row. I love rowing. However, I've also returned to my first love, powerlifting, and I want to know how to balance these two sports to their mutual benefit. They don't really
Yeah.
balance each other very well.
That's
I have the rowing down more or less. My concern is how to use rowing to help my powerlifting. It probably won't help your powerlifting, or at least minimize hurting it. Yeah, that'll definitely be it. So 47, 5'8", 165 kilos. I was joking about the kilos. Okay, so Scott, there's a few things here. Firstly, right? If the rowing proficiency, right? So you're obviously very proficient at rowing. It's an absolutely gigantic advantage to you, particularly in the case where you're doing a test on a yearly basis. And I assume there's prerequisites on that test that they want you to hit. I would probably look at hitting those prerequisites at probably once a month for the entire 12 months, you know, unless it's a very difficult level to get there for that 2,000 meter row. If that's a fairly moderate or fairly achievable row for you to hit consistently, I would keep most of my row training as 500 meter repeats, 1K repeats, fairly like 50-50 in terms of work rest ratios, probably 10 500s at a maybe 150 pace, depending how good a rower you are, and then just keep that pace. So twice a week, do rowing repeats, nothing major, so no long rows, and then no short sprint rows either, just 500s and 1Ks, probably once every 2, 3, or 4 weeks. You could test your 2K, make sure it's right in around there where it needs to be, and then you just keep the rowing as a maintenance for the rest of the time. So the entire time you're training, your rowing is just being maintained. Now, it might be a case that after 3 or 4 months, you might figure out, okay, these 2K rows are really simple. I don't need to do 2 full rowing sessions every week. I might need to do 1 easy session and 1 slightly more training session where it's a bit more difficult, or I might only need to do 2 sessions every, 3 sessions every 2 weeks, or 2 sessions every 2 weeks. So you'll be able to play around with that very easily. And the advantage of those rowing sessions is they're probably going to be 45 minutes, including your warm-up. So they'll be a very, very achievable session to do, and it won't impact you too much. And then what you'll be able to do is actually just do powerlifting, like do normal powerlifting training as it should be done, consistent volume, be able to build your volume over the course of a number of months, be able to consistently go from prep phase to strength phase to realization phase, or however you want to periodize it. And the whole time you're just constantly touching base with the row. Now, if you're in the case where the row isn't that good, where you still need to maintain training for the row, I would look at hitting that row pretty hard. So do a 2 or 3 month training block to get that rowing time down, or get it to where it needs to be. During that 2 or 3 month block, just treat that as your prep phase for powerlifting. So a lot of volume, moderate to low intensities, just keeping everything moving towards a general piece of work capacity. Do the same for your squat, your same for your bench, your same for your deadlift. If you need to make morphological changes like losing weight or gaining weight, do it during that time. Then once you hit that kind of prerequisites on the rows, you can go back to what we were talking about earlier. Small amounts of sessions, relatively frequently, staying within that 2K time for almost all of the year.
Montel says you advocate interesting moves to assist the squat compared to most coaches. I won't spoil your exercises. A lot of exercise coaches will prescribe squat variations, belt squats. What is behind your choice? So first of all, we love belt squats. Just to say,
belt squats are great.
A lot of assistance exercises, and I know this to be true, knowing a lot of powerlifters. A lot of powerlifters just like training, and they'll do a lot of dumb and useless and sometimes negative assistance exercises because they want to fill a lot of training and do a lot of volume into their sessions instead of just doing mostly squat, bench, and deadlift, and then the assistance are that they need to do. They'll add a lot of fluff in because they like training. They feel like they need to do more training. Lots of people love variation of squats. The only one we found to be truly effective and almost, I would say, mandatory for powerlifters is high bar squats. That is absolutely essential, and it's so useful, and drives up people's low bar squat like you would not believe. Drastically drives it up. Some people do need the addition of specific stuff like belt squats, but will never use like belts or like box squats, safety bar squats. We don't even use front squats with our powerlifters. Sometimes we'll do it for something interesting, but very rarely. Sometimes we'll do pause squats, but again, that's more of a personal choice when we feel like adding them to the thing rather than them always needing it. It depends on the lifter. It just straight up, we just have not seen variations be effective, and we've really seen high bar squats be very, very effective for squatting.
The other thing is that the opposite point of that question is why we choose the ones we do choose. So anyone who does the RTA, it's no secret what the accessory work is. It's a huge amount of midline work, a lot of like both anterior, posterior, and anti-rotation work. That is where people fall down with their squats. Most people don't have any quad strength, so there's some quad work in there. And then almost everyone fails heavier squats because their midline breaks down. Like very, very rare groups within the population. Some highly skilled weightlifters, some lighter weight class weightlifters will fail squats because of weak legs. But the vast amount of time you fail a squat, your back will round, you'll tilt forward, you'll fall back, and it's because your midline has failed and not because your quads or your glutes or your hammies are too weak. The only other thing I'll say then as well is like the best way to get better at squatting is to squat. The same way, best way to get better at deadlifting is to deadlift. The best way to get better at bench pressing is to bench press. So when we only have you for 8 weeks during the program, the last thing we need to do is take up your time doing some sort of one-legged hack squat or whatever that is. We just have the most amount of squats we can put into the program and expect people to reasonably be able to carry out. And then the accessory work works in around that. Okay. Alan said, how's it going? Nice morning stream for my birthday. Happy birthday, Alan. Hope you're having a great day. Ramon DCR says, similar question to Erico Oliveira. I like to do cycling, hiking, rock climbing purely for enjoyment. Could this negatively impact my weightlifting training? Yeah, it absolutely will, but doesn't really matter. Unless you're a professional weightlifter or you're some way involved in weightlifting that pays for you to have a roof over your head, you're probably just doing it as something you enjoy. And then it's simply a thing of what's your priority. Is your priority doing weightlifting, enjoying your training, making a relatively good amount of progress, and doing your cycling, hiking, and rock climbing? Or is the only thing that brings you joy in your life putting 5 kilos extra onto your snatch and clean and jerk? In that case, don't do the cycling, don't do the hiking, don't do the rock climbing. You could probably give up your job as well. Stop talking to your friends and just live like a hermit in a shed. But for most of us, we're just trying to find a good balance between training, working, doing the other things we find enjoyable, and then our recovery and all that other stuff. Jimmy Jam has people write questions to be triggering.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is just a dumb question. And we had another conversation today about me being too narky on the live streams.
No, it's pretty dumb question.
This is just dumb. Like, why do people say Clarence is impressive when he has no gold medals?
When you can pause squat 310 kilos, snatch 195 kilos, and you can clean 235 kilos as not a super...
At 100 kilos.
I don't know.
Also with having never had a coach and doing it all on his own and never being paid to be an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
We get some dumb questions. That's probably one of the dumbest.
Ashdod Basanti says, how much percent of load should I use for static holds and off should I static hold for squats? Never. Don't ever do static squats. They just do nothing. There's absolutely no benefit to heavy squat holds or heavy rack holds. So don't use any percentage.
Don't bother. If you're using static holds, we commonly use will be for midline work. So planks, back extension holds, side planks, side plank leg raises, all those we commonly use in an isometric. In those cases, just work with your body weight is absolutely good. For prerequisite for what we want people to be doing, we want people to do kind of 20 to 30% of body weight for 60 seconds on their hips. So that would be, for me, that would be 30 kilos on my hips for a 60-second plank is kind of what we're looking for.
Aaron sent us a video of Nicolo Indika, the Romanian guy, very good lifter.
Did he?
Yeah, on Instagram.
He did send us the guy he was talking about his jerk.
Do you think there's an optimal time for a day to train, and what time of day do you feel as normally train? So there probably is an optimal time to train based on your circadian rhythm or your hormonal process, it's probably at times when your testosterone peaks. It's probably for a lot of men later in the evening or probably earlier in the morning. Brainwaves seem to decrease as an evolutionary thing, the activity from kind of like 1 to like 5 in the evening. Even you don't particularly feel it, it's kind of well documented among the literature. So it's not a great time to train. It seems to be anticipation of twilight and potentially hunting around that time with some of the suggestions for that, which is kind of interesting. So I would prefer earlier in the morning, like pre kind of midday time, or 6 onwards would be a better time. Ideally, wouldn't train too close to sleep. Preferably, you wouldn't be within 3 hours of sleeping. You'd run if you're finished training within 3 hours of sleeping, had your last meal, and you were finished like 2 hours before you went to bed. That would be a very optimal thing to do. Ultimately, you'll get used to training at certain times. You will certainly notice times being better for your training if you train at multiple different times. Eventually, you'll learn one which feels quite good for you, and you'll find yourself. You might actually find yourself, if your training sessions take long enough, you'll find some sessions you'll actively peak after a certain time. Like you'll feel yourself pepping up. If you start at 7:30, you might find by like 8:30, you might feel a lot better, even if you didn't feel great going into the session. So play around with it. Try keep it away from sleep. Try keep it away from kind of afternoon. Isn't great for most people. If you're on a ball of drugs, it doesn't really matter then.
No. To be honest, I think 7 p.m. for me is always going to be 7 p.m., but that's because all of the pitch sessions we used to ever have for rugby, you're talking about a lot of time built up there. So I think a lot of it does come down to habit, you know, like when were you used to training when you're younger? If you're just getting into training now, you're kind of in a unique position where you get to play around with it a small bit, you know, like there's not a huge amount of stuff around it, even though we do have one friend who maintains 3 p.m. is the worst possible time they could ever go training, and no lifting should ever be done between 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Because of the circadian rhythm.
Evan Jones also out there got such big arms. Just lighting. What are your thoughts on 60 squats as secondary compound movement for quad strength? Not a huge fan of 60 squats, but big fan of reverse quad Nordics, or just quad Nordics as we call them. They're a great exercise, mostly as a kind of a rehab, prehab exercise, but you could definitely start loading them up and once you get quite good at them. But main quad exercises would be high bar squats, or isolation quad exercises would be heavy belt squats for reps would be a great one if you can set that up. Yeah.
Okay. Calloway
Valerie of
says, any plans releasing an in-season program? Is that even feasible? Yeah. So we'd have to do an in-season program, but it will probably have to be like a group of sports, and it will probably be like rugby, American football, ice hockey, and a few others. Then probably soccer, field hockey, GAA, and a few others. Certainly there will be ones coming out. Road to any point incoming? No, that's an in-person only training program. Is drinking a skill, or is that an Irish buff? Yeah, it's certainly a skill.
To be honest, a lot of people can't handle drink.
No, some people are terrible at drinking. Can someone tell me if the streams move from Thursdays to Fridays, or from Fridays? It just depends how our schedules are, to be honest.
Is your squat program strength only, or does it have Olympic lifts? Nope, it's just squat only.
Just squat only.
I'm doing assistance work on day 1. Planning on going to Denmark. If we were invited for a seminar, certainly we would happily fly over to Denmark.
Lads, we'll go almost anywhere except Turkmenistan.
Yeah, we'll go anywhere again except for Turkmenistan. So if you want to invite us for a seminar, we would be more than happy to go anywhere. Just give us ample time. We love going to seminars, love taking other places, we like to meet nice people. Haven't been to a gym yet, I think, where I've been like, fuck, why do we go here?
No.
Met some really nice people in some great gyms, for sure. I'm assuming at some point we're going to get to a gym where we're like, I cannot wait to get out of here. But every seminar we've done so far, I've been like, oh, these are good people. I like this.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed it never happens.
Montel, apart from hypertrophy, neural drive, and coordination, are there any other trainable athletic qualities that will drive 1RM powerlifting performance? Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of this, like what allows you to squat more weight, there are probably 20 different factors that allow you to squat more weight. So even expression of one fiber type over the other. So,
Is it like, I suppose you mean like trainable stuff?
but you could still like,
Yeah.
To be honest, I think people get a small bit too into the weeds here of like, what's getting better, or why am I getting better at this? Am I gaining muscle? Am I not gaining muscle here? All you need to think about is this an intelligent training program? Am I carrying it out to the best of my possible abilities and giving it the opportunity to work? And then how long should I run that training program for?
You've hit the nail on the head of the, I'd say you've hit the tree that are the bulk of your gains that you can control. Like other things are like coordination, or so you have coordination, you've like
just actual strength of the muscle though, and
like,
strength of that stretch shortening cycle.
Yeah, you've like voluntary activation, antagonist co-activation, tendon stiffness, like lateral tendon stiffness, stuff those that happen with training naturally. You could maybe go down the route of looking for stiffer tendons, but that kind of plateaus after a while, and just general training helps your tendons respond. You could look at some like high thresholds, motor unit stuff, some of that training. It might be useful for powerlifting. Not really though, but it might be worth a look. So looking at like faster movement stuff. So due to the nature of high threshold motor unit recruitments, they are fast fibers, fast type 2 muscle fibers. And so looking at high velocity movements may help your powerlifting. If you have a deficit in the velocity stuff, the velocity requirement for powerlifting is quite low. But if you have an extreme deficit, if you're particularly low in it, it may be worth your while looking at that. For powerlifting, you could do a little bit of sprinting, for example, short sprints like 20-meter sprints. You could look at some plyometrics, might be useful. It would depend on your individual case. But everything else, you've covered the bulk of them there, really. Just intelligent training. Just have patience. There's no real like game changer there other than gear. But other than the ones you've mentioned, there's no game changer. There's nothing there that will say that you're like, you try this now, it'll blow your squat up, and it's like it won't. It will just training.
Just try volume.
Yeah,
more volume. I'm after getting into weeds here on some of these questions.
What are your thoughts on Zach dressed as Luigi at Rogue Invitational? It seemed that he was cheerleading. I think he's more a fan of CrossFit than he shows.
Zach likes CrossFit. He just doesn't like. He's not against CrossFit.
Same questions on barbell hack squats, Nyack style frog deadlift, Jefferson deadlift. Any benefit exotic variations? Not really. Some people get really into doing those and doing the biggest lifts they can in them, which is totally their own decision and more power to them. But in terms of benefits for people, no, just no.
Archer Joy says, is nose breathing better than mouth breathing actually a thing? Yeah, it certainly is a thing.
Yeah.
Also, if you don't want your face to change shape and your teeth to move, you should probably get your broken nose fixed when you break it.
For your business partner's sake.
No,
nasal breathing is 100%.
Absolutely,
yeah. Without a shadow of doubt. There's a lot of great evidence in it. It's just a really insidious or very slow progressing benefit or negative, depending on what you were doing. Nasal breathing is very important. It's well established. It's certainly a thing for sure. And I would understand why you'd ask that. That could, there's been so many fucking like stupid fucking just shit things, people like that come out all the time. But no, nasal breathing is for sure well established thing at the moment. I don't really know anyone who is particularly like au fait with the field or anyone. I've listened to one good podcast on fundamental health, Carnivore MD's Paul Saladino's podcast. He had a really interesting fella. He was working with some of the CrossFitters who's to do with dreadlocks in Australia. He's doing bobsleigh now. You kind of like him.
I can't think of his name.
He was like getting into nasal breathing, and he was on like the assault bike. And your man has like stages of nasal breathing and like stages of when mouth breathing would be necessary. But he was saying like mouth breathing should be like under 60 seconds of your entire aerobic activity. If you really need that last push, for example. But he was like trying to get this gentleman, the CrossFitter. He was on
not Can Porter.
Can Porter is
it?
Yeah, so yeah, on like an assault bike. He was saying, and he was like, okay, I want you to go to this level of intensity, this heart rate, only nasal breathing. And he said like the first time Cam was on it, he couldn't get past like a few minutes without having to open his mouth and stuff. So no, there is quantifiable benefits to nasal breathing. it's just quite slow, and it's something you just have to have patience with. But it's certainly a thing. Certainly very, 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 very interesting.
A name that I can't read because it doesn't use the same letters as ours. I don't see any elite weightlifters using Legacy 2s, which you said, and I agree, are the best weightlifting shoe, at the same tier as the Antas and ROM 2s. Did you update your opinion on them? Do you still like them? We start off, they're not the best weightlifting shoe. ROM 2s are the best weightlifting shoe, in my opinion. I have some opinions on why you won't see as many elite weightlifters wearing them. First one is very, very, very simply that Reebok aren't sponsoring most elite weightlifters, and Nike are sponsoring a lot of them. The guys,
no, they don't want to speak anymore.
Don't they?
No, Nike weightlifting has been shut down a few years ago. They just kind of for good reason.
Any athlete you see wearing Antas, is more than likely contractually obliged to wear Antas. The other thing about those Legacy 2s is that for a lot of people, the heel's going to be too high. Like, if you're a lighter weight class athlete or female, that heel could definitely be too high for you. It's over an inch in heel height. So I take that could be why you don't see a lot of elites wearing them. Most elites don't have issues with their ankle mobility, whereas most amateurs do.
No more Coke for you. Do you have any thoughts? Oh, sorry. Oh, hang on. Up and comers from Team USA. Any people you hope to see make a Paris 24? Hello from Georgia, Republic of Georgia. Hello. Very nice country. Georgia's nice. Do you have any thoughts on the 45-degree back extension versus the GHD for general training or even weightlifting specifically?
I think they're both great.
They're both great exercises.
They're both really good.
It's unlikely you have access to both of them, but both of them are great. I prefer a 45-degree back extension. I don't like GHD.
I like GHDs then because I think they get more hamstrings.
No, but it's way easier to load up the 45-degree back extension.
Yeah, it is.
So I prefer that if you want weighted back extensions. They're better than RDLs for what you want them to do.
531 for squats at Olympic lifts. Is it worth it or good? I think you should do the Seeker Strength back squat program for your back squats. If you want a weightlifting program, you should do the Seeker Strength weightlifting blocks. If you're a beginner, you should do the Seeker Strength beginner program. And if you're just getting back to training, you should do the Seeker Strength getting back to training weightlifting program. Would you strength train with a distance runner who's in season? Absolutely yes.
How would you?
Okay. So very, very simply, in season, the biggest demand you have with distance runners is total volume. So they're doing a huge amount of mileage every single week. So you're not going to be able to do work fasty stuff in the gym. You're not even going to be able to do high-end strength work in the gym. What I would mostly see with in-season athletes is like very moderate volumes. So you could say like 3 sets of 3, 5 sets of 3, 3 sets of 5. They're definitely going to be in a power range. So it's certainly going to be, for distance runners, it's usually lower. It's usually 60, 65% of 1RM. They just do their fundamental movements. So I try to get them bilaterally doing something twice a week. So that would be back squat or deadlift or RDL or front squat or whatever it is. And then a lot of the work is a combination of midline stability work and general stability work. So for distance runners in particular, where they lose their times are on things like loss of posture, loss of efficiency in their stride, loss of length in their stride, and then loss of capacity in certain joint stiffness. So the ankle slowly starts to roll a small bit more. We get more range of motion in the ankle. We get higher degrees of flexion in the knees. And it's just an imperfect gait as they get more and more tired. So you just basically work on their posture, work on their stability to be able to maintain that stability, stable and posture for longer into the race. But they still move a certain amount of weight, not much, at a pretty moderate volume. And it's just a lot of balance work, a lot of midline work to make sure they can keep running for the full length of the race and their training.
You start raising some questions.
Yeah.
Stephen Morgan says, how strict, lads? I know you mentioned the S&C for BJJ for an athlete. I know, yeah. In your opinion, a BJJ athlete would be better off as a stone cold arsonist or as a psychopathic axe maniac? I think stone cold arsonist is probably better because you don't want to be training in the cold, you know, all the time. So you want to be warm, like, so as an
Yeah.
arsonist, I think, you know, you don't want to be arsing around, like.
No, certainly not. Chris asks, is Wim Hof breathing a thing? Going to do more research on it, but more wondering if it's a waste of time.
I don't know. I just don't know.
I did a college project on Wim Hof. It's very, very strange because...
Did you?
Yeah.
That's random.
In my master's. And the project was on building resilience in people. So building the state of resilience rather than the trait of resilience in people, and using cold water and breathing techniques to do it. Certainly you can use cold water to build resilience in people. You can use breathing techniques to bring up certain variables which would lead someone to be more resilient. But Wim Hof, the issue is Wim Hof isn't like, oh, I do controlled breathing or restriction of breathing to bring about increase in resilience, or I use cold water immersion to bring about increase in resilience. Wim Hof says, do the Wim Hof method and it will change your life.
Yeah.
Which it probably won't, you know.
Yeah, it's
I'm all about people doing hard things. I'm all about people utilizing things and whatever, but
I don't know what the Wim Hof method is. I know of him and I've listened to him and Rogan, for example, but I've never really like gone into the depths of what he actually gets people to do. So I don't have an opinion. I'm not sure what it is he's trying to get people. What is he trying to, like, what is he doing for you? What is Wim Hof breathing doing?
What is he doing?
What is
he doing? Well, it can increase resilience, psychological resilience. But
yeah,
Wim as a person is crazy. He can regulate his internal body temperature.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he can do some mental things, and you're not going to be able to do that with the Wim Hof method. Nobody can, but very interesting.
Brandon P said he's working on the 4 powerlifting block. Is there a taper after I finish it? No, we just need to release the next blocks of the powerlifting program, which we just haven't got around to yet. There'll be 3 more blocks very soon, we hope. Is my answer. All been killing it lately. Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks very much.
What exercise to increase power in BJJ?
To increase power, get a bigger squat. Squat and deadlift will be the main thing. But most of the time, it's not like you have a load of excess strength built up, and then you're not being able to convert it into power well enough. You know, which we do see certainly in some field athletes. We see power not being properly expressed because they might have a 2.5 times body weight back squat or deadlift, and they're not fast enough, or they don't do the coordination to use that strength in a very fast way. Like, power is all about the rate at which you're doing work. But most of the time, or in our experience with the vast majority of grapplers, BJJ athletes, fighters in general, the strength base isn't there. So I would say to be more powerful, first become stronger.
Albu Pavel says, how do percentages change during a classic progression, high volume, high intensity, for someone who squats 100, 200, 300? Does having a stronger squat result in lower percentages? No. So you still work in the same percentages, but when you're looking at weight on the bar and the distance of actual kilos from your 1RM, so most people, you spend a lot of time at like 75 to 80% of your 1RM. So for example, like if you're squatting 300 kilos as opposed to 180, you will just be further from it. So you'll be, as opposed to like 160 kilos, you'll be at like 240. So you'll be just more kilos away. So you might make this mistake without doing calculations, thinking, oh, you're at lower percentages, but you're still aiming for the same kind of sets and reps and progression at the similar percentages, even if your squat's higher. But not really. It doesn't change a whole lot. Obviously, progress is a bit different, and it's actually basically the same training, just heavier weights, and you have to be a little bit more careful with them, and you have to be really. You've got to really be on the ball, because while the percentages are the same, absolute weight on the human body is still absolute weight. So kind of no matter who you are, 250 kilos is just heavy for everyone. And so you just got to be really, really, there's less room for error when you're using heavier absolute weights. So when people are squatting, you've got to be careful 250. You've got to be sure that this is the day you're going to go for your 5x3 or 5x5, as opposed to if you're squatting 180 kilos and you're going for like 140 for a couple of reps or whatever, there's a lot more at stake, and it's a lot harder to rectify if you mess it up. So you just got to be sure with things. So you just got to be a bit smarter with training, but the end goal at certain percentages still remains the same. You've just got to put in the effort to squat 20 kilos.
Okay, I have two. Sean Baker has a question. In-season basketball player, should I have more than a day in between court sessions and strength sessions? No. So it really depends what level you're playing at, Sean, but I'm going to assume that you're at an amateur level, training twice a week with one other court session and then a game, right? So 4 sessions a week total of basketball. You really want to be in the gym twice a week in season, particularly as a basketball player. There's a whole host of injuries that you can get, or basketball players get very, very, very commonly, that can be avoided in the gym. It's a great sport in that way, whereby a lot of the injuries you're going to come up against, or most common injuries you'll come up against, are very avoidable. Like you're rolling your ankle, you're in like internal rotation of the knees. All these things are very, very avoidable through simple gym work. So what I'd say in that kind of training split is more than likely you have a game on Saturday. That gives you a day off Sunday. I then go Monday gym, Tuesday court, Wednesday gym, Thursday court. I try and have a day off Friday, and then, or like just do my light like skill session on Friday, or do a light skill session on the same day as your gym session. Full day off before the game then on Saturday, and a full day off Sunday. That would be more than effective, assuming you were training Tuesdays and Thursdays on the court. Gym sessions Mondays and Wednesdays would be absolutely perfect, and that's how most people are gonna run it.
Hello, Seb. Seb's here. He said afternoon.
Hi, Seb.
Afternoon's such a British thing.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, gentlemen.
Okay, I had one more and I have the name written down, but
Confidence Cases, love the channel. What do you think of the best strength exercise for long distance trail runners? So the usual suspects would just squatting, benching, pressing would be useful, rowing, and then any assortment of the effective hamstring or quad exercises. Plenty of core work would be very, very useful, of course. The usual suspects, just literally get the good ones done, like high bar, deep squats are very, very useful. Deadlifting is very, very useful. Get plenty of single leg work in there, Bulgarian split squats, walking lunges, get some quad Nordics in there, be good for the knees. Get some hamstring stuff in for sure. Hamstring curls, banded hamstring curls, maybe some deficit deadlifts might be useful. And then plenty of upper body stuff, pull-ups, chin-ups, dips, just like the good shit. It would be the business for your for running for sure. Just that good old-fashioned, just get stronger, get that force production up, and you'll be on your way to getting the most benefit you can for your running. Trail running is grim as well. Yeah. Walking around there looking for deer, like in the high country, is fucking grim enough. Like running up this is just no crack. Like
Alistair Pagan wants to know, how fast is too fast for losing weight as a powerlifter? I'm looking to go from 20% to 15%, and I assume that's body mass or body fat.
No, Charlie's muscle.
You never know though. 20% body fat to 15% body fat. This is, so if you take your 100 kilo, let's say you're 100 kilos, right? You're going to go from 20% body fat to 15% body fat. You're going to lose 5% total, so you're going to go down to 95 kilos of lean tissue. Realistically, that's a total loss. You're going to be down to 90 kilos by the time you've lost between losing fat and losing muscle, because I guarantee you when you go to 20% to 15%, it won't be just cutting off that 5 kilos of fat tissue. You'll lose a certain amount of body mass as well. If you are very, very, very good at losing weight, you might be 92 kilos at the end of that. So total weight loss of 8 kilos. Usually for athletes, we say a kilo a month is about as much as you want to do, because you lose too much performance if it's a lot more than that. A kilo a month is very, very doable. You'll notice a decrement in your performance, but it's not going to absolutely murder you. Now, I know for a fact that a lot of the athletes we talk to say, no, I'm just going to do for 2 or 3 months, going to lose all the fat, and I'll be back and good to go. most of the time they don't lose the fat, they just lose muscle tissue, they just shed water, and then they come back and they're around 18.5%, 19% body fat. They've lost 3 months of training and they've done nothing positive with it. So what I would say is you say, okay, it's around 8 to 10 kilos total of weight loss I'm going to have, even though I'm going to try as hard as I possibly can to maintain all my muscle tissue. I stick to a kilo a month. I'm going to say for the next 8 to 9 months, I'm going to really concentrate on my training and really concentrate on my food intakes and my total exercise, total activity. And then at the end of those 8 or 9 months, you'll be jacked still because you have all the muscle or a lot of the muscle, and you'll be 15% body fat instead of 20%.
Wolf Mooney says snatch over squat to build overhead strength. Yeah, that's a good one. Overhead squats are great.
Great one.
We do have a week overhead squat snatch specific program. It's 8 weeks, 2 sessions a week, just your snatch stuff and your systems. I just linked it below, Wolf Mooney, just in case you wanted to see it. Or
just in case you wanted to look.
Just throw it out there. We don't do this for nothing. Like, so just in case anyone else was wondering.
Right.
You let him into the Facebook group?
I was just looking there. He's trying to figure out.
Ashley
he's already been left in, or else his name. Oh, there he is. For the person who is looking to get entered into the Facebook group, you're now in. Welcome to the club.
I just want to say thanks for all the great content you do. I just started Weightlifting this year, and your channel has helped me and tandem with my coach myself. Thanks, Ashley. That's great.
C7201 asks, any chance of getting Uncle Broderick back on? Absolutely. We definitely want to get him on soon. The great fella to chat.
Jim Busher says, are there benefits in taking a coaching qualification if you're not going to coach? Will you help understand the movements, understand the lifts? No, I wouldn't think so. My opinion would be no.
No. Look, it's not going to hurt, but there's a lot of people do coaching qualifications who are never going to be coaches, you know.
A lot of these coaching qualifications are set up just to make money.
Yeah.
And not really teach people how to be forced to do, like, how to be a coach. Otherwise, they'd be longer than a couple of weekends, you know.
Yeah. What would help you understand the lifts a lot is if you knew a very good coach and you could shadow him while he's coaching, or do like a little internship where you know he's going to be coaching on a Saturday morning, he's coaching 4 lifters. Go and watch him or her coaching their athletes, and that will give you a bit of an understanding, you know, because you're seeing that coach-athlete relationship, you're seeing the kind of analysis that goes into it, that kind of test-retest method. That would be very, very good. And it'll be certainly more valuable to you over the course of a year or 6 months than a coaching qualification would.
Jim Holland says, what does it take to get from not only lifting, 0 only lifting, to worry about running the beginner program? If you could just start doing some, for 2 or 3 weeks, do something like, or let's say a month, right? Start doing overhead squats, front squats, strict presses from the front. Do those for like a month, okay? Do that for about 4 weeks. Do them twice a week, each of them. Just really light, just get used to doing them. Ideally, get a pair of weights and shoes. Then for 4 or 5 weeks, start doing some snatches and clean jerks. Start with the barbell, add a little bit of weight every time. Get a rough idea what your capability is. And then you can enter your maxes into the program and you'll be good to go from there. And just make sure you join the Facebook group and we'll help you along. Jim Holland. William Brace says your basketball program is going smoothly, boys. Week 7 now. Let me know how it goes again. Please do. We love hearing how the programs finish for people because it's very important for us. And we really enjoy hearing people getting PBs, which is phenomenal. Get a little dopamine hit from it.
I have a question.
What's the question?
Jack wants to know, do you guys have any recommendations, recommended or approved resources on static stretching? My mobility is fucked and I'm always tight and sore. You should make a video on it because it's hard to find static stretching stuff for someone like me that's not just yoga. I only have 2 sources, and the first one is Aaron from Squat University. We always recommend him. He gives out very, very good advice. He's helped Owen personally
multiple
5 or 6 times.
Definitely, yeah.
With issues that he had gone to multiple physiotherapists, he'd gone to doctors over. Like, he had seen very high level people who hadn't been able to fix it, and Aaron was able to fix it. Aaron had the understanding to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing, if you want an actual resource, would be a book by Kelly Starrett. Just get his book. People talk so much smack about it, and but it's a bank of knowledge. So like either get Aaron's book or get Kelly's book and use that as your kind of your bouncing off your encyclopedia. Every time you need something, my hammies are tight, how do I go do that? My quads are tight, how do I do that? I have pain in my knee when I squat, how do I go do that? And use that as your bank of knowledge. It's much more valuable to have it in a book than in terms of a video series, I think.
Yeah. Rebuilding Milo is a great book as well. Very, very useful. Okay, I think we're done.
Yeah.
I think we're fucking done over here.
I'm so done right now. Thanks very much for watching.
Always appreciate all the questions. Sorry we can't get to everyone's, but an hour is about our limit when we start to slack off.
Yeah.
It's the limit of the chemicals in your brain before they start deciding it's time to do something different. Maybe other people could go for longer, but that's not us. So thanks for all the questions.
I've heard that my entire life.
I'm just saying, like, if you want more live streams, if more people buy programs to the live stream, it makes Buzz want to do them more. So for anyone worried about the weightlifting camp, we'll be letting people know the date soon with Gabriel. If you want us to do seminars, we've done strength training seminars, we've done for general athletes and stuff. If you have a fucking MMA, jiu-jitsu, arsonist, cold-blooded killer gym, we'll come there and give you a seminar, no problem. We'd love to do some of those. We'd love to get talking to some mixed martial artist stuff. If it's weightlifting, just send us an email and we'll organize a time and a place. We'll go anywhere in Europe for sure. Might be in America next year, but not for seminars. We'll obviously be just on a holiday. Plenty more videos coming out. New video coming up. I've started a new series, The Biochemistry of Performance. It's going to be on the ACTN3 gene. I would really appreciate if you guys, if you did like it, to leave comments and likes and let people know, because it took a lot of hours of research and writing a script and stuff, and it's taken Alex quite a bit to edit it too. So they will, that would mean a lot to me if you do like that. If people like this one, I'm going to do the next one, Biochemistry and Performance. So it's a bit more like scripted, informative, sciencey based. Probably do gene doping after this one if people like the first one. And then I'll just move on to other random biochemical molecules or something like that that relate to training. Maybe muscle fibers after that, who knows? Maybe mTOR, although mTOR will take a lot, but we'll see how that goes. So that one should be out hopefully this week whenever Alex gets a chance to finish it. He's a busy man, he does good work, so all depends on him. And if not, we will see you guys later next week, next Thursday.